bitches go.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego Unpacked. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Dillian Whyte continues to claim that Deontay Wilder is a coward and ducking and afraid of him. That's what he thinks. What up, Fight World? We unpacked. It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang digital mob, please hit the like and subscribe button. All that good stuff. You know, shout out to the super chats, channel donations, Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, I had to unpack this real quick. This might not be that long because I don't think I need that long to cook. You know, there's this new video surfaced, and Dillian Whyte, you guys see, it says Dillian Whyte slams Wilder for being a coward. He called him the, I don't know, something like the world boxing coward, or, you know, some childish name. I almost typed in rematch room, you know, and he's, you know, trying to kick up dust and create a scene or whatever. And this has to stop from rematch room. I think in boxing, the clout chasing is just getting egregious and horrible. Dillian Whyte's his own man. He stays with Wilder, Fury name out of his mouth. And I remember, you know, last year or a couple years ago, Wilder was about to fight Fury, and then Dillian Whyte kind of came out the woodwork and he said, oh, look at these two cowards, bunch of cowards or something. Said the same thing. And like, I'm all for trash talk, but the trash talk got to make sense. Dillian Whyte, what he's doing, I don't think it really helps his brand. It doesn't help him become a name in America because he keeps coattailing Wilder, something Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua said Wilder was doing to Joshua. And the stuff Wilder was doing when he was attacking and smoking Joshua out, he was actually saying true things. But with Dillian Whyte, you know, that's why I'm doing the Unpacked. He's not being truthful. Like this whole coward. How is Wilder a coward, but he's fighting Tyson Fury, who's perceived as lineal champion? These are the number 1 and 2 guys amongst most people's respected list, you know, or respected people or brands. And, you know, like the ESPN, Ring Magazine, whoever you guys view as respected, those are the names that are in the top 2. I don't know one person that has Dillian Whyte in their top 2. So how is Wilder a coward for fighting Luis Ortiz? And how is he a coward for fighting against Tyson Fury? You know, and his real mandatory, which was Dominic Brazil at the time. See, this is the old tweet from, says, Dillian Whyte had previously said, embarrassing bunch of cowards, and he tagged Wilder and Gypsy King. So he's been using their names for a while, especially Wilder, being that he's ranked with the WBC. He said, let's go chumps, #clowns. And then Tyson Fury responded and he said, cowards, it could have been you, but someone didn't want to fight the final eliminator versus Luis Ortiz. Did you, coward? So that's why you're not fighting Wilder. Also, let's face facts here. You struggled with Derek Chisora, and you should have lost that fight by at least 4 rounds. Then Joseph Parker nearly knocked you out in the round 12. You ran from Dave Allen all night. What have you ever achieved? Oh, I remember you got sparked out by Anthony Joshua for the British title, didn't you? The facts are you are just a dosser for Eddie Hearn, hoping you might get something from the leftovers of Anthony Joshua's plate. And remember who you are talking to, the Gypsy King, the man who has done everything that you could have only dreamed of. I know you're a shithouse dosser. Enjoy being a workman for Eddie. You know, so he came with some vicious stuff, but you know, listen to what he's saying. This is what I've told you. New media, digital mob, smash the like button. Look, Dillian Whyte, he withdrew from a purse bid. ESPN, look at the date. 2 years ago. Y'all see that? Look, 2 years ago, ESPN. With Dillian Whyte withdrawing from a heavyweight title elimination fight against Kubrat Pulev after the purse bid had been held to instead fight against a former titleist, Joseph Parker. See, you guys, I remember boxing because I lived it. Joseph Parker was supposed to fight Brian Jennings. They were talking about that. and Dillian Whyte was going to fight Kubrat Pulev. But then all of a sudden, Eddie Hearn and Dillian Whyte came out and said, hey, we're fighting Joseph Parker. So it kind of left Brian Jennings out in the cold and Kubrat Pulev. That's what happened. This is what this is. There was a Bulgarian company, Epic Boxing and Sports, or Epic Sports Entertainment, that won the purse bid. So Eddie Hearn they were going to stage the fight in Bulgaria. Kubrat Pulev being Bulgarian, Eddie Hearn didn't want that. He didn't want Dillian Whyte to go fight on enemy territory, and he didn't want to lose the purse bid and not be in charge of the show. So instead, he made a bullshit fight that nobody really even asked for, which was Joseph Parker coming directly off of a loss to Anthony Joshua, and he tried to sell that to the UK public. The UK, y'all keep getting scammed and schemed viciously. You guys are paying box office, pay-per-view for this, for Dillian Whyte to fight someone coming off of a loss. This is the facts. And then they market it, oh, it's a former champion. But it doesn't really move the needle. So that's one opportunity where he could have got to Joshua's title. Who are they talking about Joshua now fighting? Kubrat Pulev. So had he not pulled out of this title elimination, as you see on ESPN, then he could have been the person who is now up for Joshua, who just got his belts back, beating Andy Ruiz in Saudi Arabia in part 2. He would be right there for that. So I don't feel sorry for Dillian Whyte, because this is how Eddie Hearn, Rematch Room, DAZN, and Barry Hearn played their cards. Title elimination, you pulled out. Look at all you have to read is this first sentence. With Dillian Whyte withdrawing from a heavyweight title elimination fight against Pulev. And that is precisely who they are talking about getting the shot versus Joshua next. In Tottenham Stadium or wherever. So he could have got a title shot in a rematch with Joshua, his supposed to be nemesis, even though they were acting cool in Saudi Arabia. That's one opportunity towards the title. Facts, receipts. Dominic Breazeale, he was the first primary mandatory, because sometimes the WBC has multiple, and I know that part is confusing. Look at February 12th. Dillian Whyte and Dominic Breazeale ordered to fight by the WBC. This is UK media putting this. UK, Sky Sports, right? Dillian Whyte never fought him. He fought Derek Chisora, never fought Dillian Whyte versus Dominic Breazeale. Even further, Dillian Whyte and Dominic Breazeale, this was at the beginning of last year. So January 19th, 2018. Or 19, whatever the date is, right? January 18, 2019. So January of last year, Dillian Whyte and Dominic Breazeale opened to heavyweight fight talks, right? And Dominic Breazeale said, he says, I hope he does make some type of deal with the PBC. Breazeale told Sky Sports, but he has another interview where he called, that's even older, right here, August 25th, 2018. Look at these dates. These are receipts. That's what we call it here in America. August 25th, 2018. Dominic Breazeale would welcome a fight against Dillian Whyte. And this whole article by UK media, Sky Sports, is Dominic Breazeale exclusively speaking to UK media, Sky Sports. And it says the Californian was installed as the mandatory challenger for Deontay Wilder's WBC title after his win over Eric Molina last November, much to the dismay of Dillian Whyte, who is the WBC's #1 contender, right? So the UK is playing dumb. UK media is playing dumb. Dillian Whyte is playing dumb, like he doesn't understand that they had two mandatories and his positioning with the WBC didn't take precedence over Dominic Breazeale. So when Wilder last year fought Dominic Breazeale, knocked him out in one, that could have been a fight for Dillian Whyte had he took Dominic Breazeale up on his offer. Dominic Breazeale said he would scrap with you. It's all in here. Quote, I thought the Dillian Whyte fight and myself was actually going to happen this year, Breazeale told. He's bound with the situation with the WBC and his silver belt. I have the WBC, say it with me, mandatory. I only thought it was right for him and myself to get in the ring and square it off, as the fans would love to see it. So hopefully that fight does come here in the near future. But if you look at Dillian Whyte's box rec, so that was in 2018, Eddie Hearn didn't authorize or make any of these fights. Didn't fight Kubrat Pulev. And in 2018 and beyond, I showed you 2 articles from starting at, what was it, August 2018? Right here. Boom. Yeah, August 25th, 2018. So from 2018 all the way until May 2019, Dillian Whyte could have took Dominic Breazeale in his offer and rematch room. But just in true rematch room fashion, they never made that fight. Instead, they made Oscar Rivas, a Derek Chisora rematch we had already seen, and Dillian Whyte already had a win over him, even though I thought he really lost the fight. They made a July fight with Joseph Parker. See? So why didn't you take Dominic Breazeale? That's another option where he would have been installed as the mandatory, and he could have fought against Dillian Whyte, could have fought against the other champion, which is Wilder. WBC, ESPN, April 24, 2018. This is so easy to trace if you know your boxing. I know it because I lived it and I covered this. Dillian Whyte, Luis Ortiz eliminator ordered as WBC provides title status updates. So they had their annual WBC convention in probably Kiev, Ukraine, or wherever it was. And they got the breakdowns of all the fights that they wanted to see on their watch and explain what was going on. Look, the organization ordered a final heavyweight title elimination fight between England's Dillian Whyte and Miami-based Cuban defector Luis King Kong Ortiz for the right to become the division's second mandatory behind Dominic Breazeale for the right to challenge Deontay Wilder. Ortiz is coming off a highly competitive 10th round knockout loss to Wilder. So basically a guy who beat Bryant Jennings, beat Tony Thompson, beat Dave Allen, has respect, gave Wilder a run for his money. You could have fought him. The WBC told you to fight him, and you didn't, which is what Tyson Fury even mentioned. He says, but someone didn't want to fight a final eliminator versus Luis Ortiz. Did you, coward? So that's why he's saying that, which is what new media has been telling you. So all this coward talk from Dillian Whyte makes no sense because he's had several options to actually, and to the point where they can't deny you, get in the situation where you're the number one, like Errol Spence. Errol Spence was Kell Brook's number one. Kell Brook was talking, so basically, realistically, I want me fight with Amir Khan and Manny Pacquiao, and I'm at my true weight. He was doing all this stuff, and he was fronting on Errol Spence. But guess what? Errol Spence put himself in a position to win. Al Heyman and Team Spence, Derek James, they put him in a position to win because they stayed with the IBF path. And what they did is they weren't going to be denied. So they said, we're going to keep doing what they say until Kell Brook has to fight us. Kell Brook moved all the way up to 160, fought Triple G, got his eye bashed in, got a medical extension. But once he healed from that, he got a medical extension and exemption to not fight Errol Spence straight away to give him some more time. And once he had surgery and he healed, he had to come back if he was going to fight at 47. Unless he wanted to get stripped, he had to fight Errol Spence, which is what happened. Dillian Whyte could have fought Kubrat Pulev. He got called out by Dominic Breazeale, the true number one mandatory for Wilder's WBC belt, the primary number one, not the number one contender. And he could have also fought several times against Luis Ortiz, and the WBC ordered the Breazeale fight. They ordered an eliminator between that. They ordered an eliminator between Dillian Whyte and Luis Ortiz, and Eddie Hearn and them didn't do any of it. And furthermore, Deontay Wilder told Dillian Whyte himself, come to PBC, fight Luis Ortiz, because he's a real competitor, someone that Wilder eventually fought twice. Look, it's right here. He's saying the same thing. Deontay Wilder faults Dillian Whyte on his WBC shot. He had at least 4 strikes. Look, this is him going in. So look at this. Look it right here. Quote, see how easy I can find this stuff? Quote, I told Dillian Whyte I gave him two options. I told him to sign with PBC when he came over here network shopping or whatever he was over here doing. So I told him, yeah, sign with us and you could do a 1-fight deal. Then no problem. We'll get that fight on. He said, we could get it on. I'll give you a shot. But that was one time. He didn't do it. You know, he stayed loyal to Eddie Hearns on DAZN with no American popularity or fan base because he didn't sign to PBC. He would have had a better time breaking in. Like, look at Efe Ajagba of Nigeria. He's having a better time connecting with American audiences because he's with an American promoter from Cleveland who's putting on American shows with other American stars. Eddie Hearn, all these shows he's not making no American star. Name one person that Eddie Hearns has made into an American star. Devin Haney was already popping before he even signed. We already knew who Andrade was, and he got Andrade taking a back seat in a Lucas Keeler fight no one asked for. And, you know, Andrade don't even probably respect a dude like that. And he got him like getting overshadowed by two YouTubers, Jake Paul and Anderson Gibb. It's a wrap for old media. The more they squirm, the worse it gets. Then I told him to fight Luis Ortiz. You fight him, you got my word, you got me, I said. And everyone knows when I speak, that's my word, that's my bond, and I don't go back on it. That's why when I say things, I own up to all the responsibility because I mean what I say. I mean it, and I told you, you got it if you beat Ortiz. What did he do? He didn't want to fight Luis Ortiz. Strike two, bro. So Dillian Whyte, he's clout chasing and using Wilder's name incessantly. The WBC already told him he's not getting the mandatory shot this year. Tyson Fury they have to conclude that saga, and they have 2 fights signed up. And it's like, what's the point of him? Why is Dillian Whyte still mentioning Wilder? Look, Talk Sport, another UK-based, and Dillian Whyte has done exclusive interviews, UK-based media, delay. WBC confirmed Dillian Whyte will have to wait until 2021 for a mandatory shot versus Deontay Wilder or the Tyson Fury winner, despite being cleared by UCAT. So this whole year, why is he even mentioning Fury and namely Wilder when you can't get the title shot? You're not going to get a title shot. Wilder and Fury have a bigger fight that people want to see, and it's already like the first fight was a draw, so it was left on a cliffhanger, and they already have part 2 and part 3 pretty much in like laid out. And the first one starts February 22nd, and then they should have a third fight since the first was a draw, and then I guess 2 to, you know, depend on what happens and all that. So what is the point of Dillian Whyte, you know, continuing to say Wilder's a coward? He's posting memes and saying, oh, Wilder's ducking me. I mean, it's just clout chasing, and it's not making him bigger in America. I'm trying to help the man. It's not making him a big star in America. It's actually turning people off. But again, rematch room, DAZN, you know, certain fighters doing stuff like this who have no American profile, they can keep doing it. But overall, it's not making you more desired in America, and it's not putting you on American shows. And the last thing I will say is, he keeps calling Luis Ortiz an old man, right? He's saying, oh, Luis Ortiz is an old ass man. But guess what? Dillian Whyte welcomes a possible fight with Alexander Povetkin. Dillian Whyte demands tear-up with Alexander Povetkin. Dillian Whyte eyes Alexander Povetkin tear-up. See, everyone's talking about Dillian Whyte welcomes possible heavyweight fight with Povetkin. So let me get this straight. I'm not the smartest brother in the world, new media, but Alexander Povetkin, he was a gold medalist in like 96 or whatever year it was, probably the same year as Klitschko. And oh yeah, that's right. He was born in 1979. He's 40 years old. So Luis Ortiz, he's an old man and 149 years old. And Shang Tsung, he 1,000 years old. He's Lestat from Interview from a Vampire. He's old. He's in dog years. Ha ha ha. Hardy har har. Right? Luis Ortiz is just an old man. What is Povetkin? What is Povetkin, bro? Oh, that's right. They were both born in 79. So what's the difference? All this UK fuss about how old Luis Ortiz is. He could scrap. He was in better shape than he was probably in his 20s, in his 40s, you know, when he just fought Wilder. He was winning the Wilder fight. You keep calling him an old man, but you fighting guys like Povetkin, or offering or wanting to fight guys like Povetkin, and he 40. I mean, Joshua fought Povetkin, and how old was he? Oh, that's right. He was 40. He was 41. Man, come on, bro. The UK got to do better. None of this stuff makes any ounce of sense. And here, I'll use Povetkin. He fought Marishwek 2015. Dillian Whyte just fought Marishwek on a Saudi Arabia card in December of last year, 1 month ago, and he struggled with him. Povetkin, on the other hand, he knocked him out in the final round. Let's look at Marishwek's age. Oh, that's right. He was also born in 1979, and he got walked down and stopped by Gerald Miller. And this is the guy who Dillian Whyte basically struggled with just last month, and he wasn't in the best shape. I mean, all this coward talk, it looks crazy. We unpack.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.